Welcome to the Tales of Eldelórne podcast. So happy to see you. I'm reading for you a very serious dark fantasy. Oh, my name is Karleigh. I'm your hostess with the, let's not go there. Time to read the story. In our last episode, Thendiel and the king were almost killed by the chaos of their gods. I wonder what really happened in there. Keep listening to find out. And if you want to know the rest of the story, click the follow button and I'll send you new episodes as they become available. Now, on with the show. Chapter 2, The King's Heart. Thendiel woke in good health after sleeping in the arms of her king. She was profoundly shocked as she looked at the stranger staring back at her in the mirror. Nothing hurts or feels strange, she thought, as she examined herself carefully. Thendiel accepted the changes as a penalty for using the old magics. The Eldar healers insisted she stay on in court to make sure she was indeed well. She did want to keep an eye on the king's progress, so she agreed to stay a while longer. When the king felt strong enough to walk, he requested she accompany him. He gently wrapped Thendiel's hand over his arm and led her through the beautiful palace gardens. "You truly shine brighter than the morning star," he said, regarding her with soft eyes. They soon came to a spot where there was seating enough for two. With a serious look on his face, Elendil motioned for her to rest as he sat down near her. There was no real easy way to tell her what was on his mind, so he just said it. "While inside the stream of life, a vision showed me that you are going to have a little one, a son." He spoke the words to her gently. "But I fell into your bed only once, and it was innocent." She tried to hide her shock, not knowing what else to say, and having slept with no other. "He is not my son," Elendil smiled. "This life you hold is born of Ilmatar." He slightly nodded as he told her. "His birth is precious to all elven kind. Please allow me to shelter you here in the palace." He begged of her. "It would be my honor to foster both your sons. I would call them my own for your protection, as well as the care of your eldest." Elendil's gaze never wavered as he lifted her delicate hand to his lips and softly kissed the back of it as a seal to his promise. In his wisdom, he knew what she had just been through and what had really happened to her. At that moment, he came to realize his purpose for continuing in this life was somehow woven into her unborn's destiny. Not knowing what else to do, Thendiel decided to allow herself to be joyous and content in her condition while considering his offer. Although he greatly admired and respected Thendiel, King Elendil continued to try to persuade her to stay in the palace under his sanctuary. As time passed and the king returned to his full strength, he came to understand she only wished to go back to her home in Eldelórne. She is a marvelous and stubborn elderess. Elendil shook his head in frustration. He stood alone in his small private library among his favorite books. It was a cozy, warm room that smelled of old leather and ink. 2 comfortable chairs stood empty in front of the hearth. He'd offered to retrieve her young son, so she would not worry and feel pressured to leave, but no matter what the king suggested, he knew she would not be stopped. He could only smile at her strong willfulness. It is that strong will that revoked Ilmatar's claim on my life. Our life, Rhianna, he tenderly said to himself and the ghosts that lingered in the room. And thus she has kept my beloved alive here. He touched his chest where his heart still beat. He could not stop the tears that streamed down his face. He and his queen were separated in their immortality, but she was still alive, waiting for him in Ilmatar's sleep. This had never happened before among the heart-bonded. I can only guess, beloved Rhianna, how this will end for us now, he whispered as he hugged their green leather-brown journal tightly in his arms. One full cycle of the moon had passed since Thendiel brought the king back to his kingdom. This was longer than she expected to be gone from her home. The arranged day finally came when she would leave. Thendiel gathered up her things and went to say goodbye to her king. They both stood in front of the throne in the great hall. It was empty except for the guards that stood half hidden and motionless along the walls. I cannot change your mind then. His eyes told of his sorrow at her going. Fully back to health, the king stood tall and handsome before her. His long, straight hair was as platinum in shade as hers was now. He had striking, pale gray eyes that betrayed a clan history that loved tall ships and sailed on the high seas. Elendil and his queen chose to remain inland long ago among the woodland folk, and they had made him their sovereign. The king removed his crown as a symbol of true friendship, and he set it down on a side pedestal next to his throne. He had gifts he wished to bestow upon Thendiel before she journeyed back to her home. Take this in remembrance of me. It will prove our bond of love and trust to all that see it on your finger. He removed a ring from his own hand. It was made up of intricate woven strands of silver with an iridescent pale blue stone set into it. He placed the jewel on the middle finger of her left hand. He cupped her small hands in his in a soft embrace, unwilling to continue. The sadness of the moment lingered between them until he composed himself and resolved to go on. Elendil then brought out a small blue crystal finial from his belt pocket that had the essence of one brilliant star captured inside. It shone even brighter as he placed the star in the palm of her hand. Thendiel looked on in amazement at the beaming clarity of its intense light. "These are the last relics of my kin, who were long ago lost to me." She could see a hint of lonely regret cross his face as he continued in a soft-spoken voice. "The ring is a sea opal found only in the deepest parts of the ocean, where my kinsfolk were born. We learned to harness the stars." Then he pointed at the finial. "These were used as beacons on our ships when the oceans went silent with fog. This light will pierce even the thickest darkness, so you and your sons will never be lost from my sight." He regarded her earnestly with a faint, sad smile. "Your eldest might appreciate it as a gift for my keeping his mother away for so long." Thendiel gazed thankfully with unspoken words into his eyes as he looked down at her, unwilling to look away. She wanted to hug him, but instead graciously bowed, breaking the dreamlike trance that surrounded them. Taking up his hand with both hers, she lovingly kissed his open palm. Holding it to her forehead, she took a breath before letting him go. Thendiel did regret having to leave the great king and all he had to offer, but her heart told her she must go. "If there is anything at all, you and your sons should need, do not hesitate to send word to me. The path to my gate will always open to you and yours." These were the last words ever spoken between them. All Elvenkin praised and revered the name of Thendiel Kingsaver for being strong and clever enough to conduct their sovereign back to life. She was safely escorted by the king's royal guard to her home by the edge of the ocean. Elendil was so moved by her that the vision of beautiful Thendiel and the names of her sons would forever remain in the front of the king's mind and heart. Thendiel and King Elendil had been through a lot of trauma together, so it only makes sense that they would share a special bond. From the elven point of view, it's not taboo to care about or show affection for fellow elves that are deemed worthy of it. As a matter of fact, elves are very touchy-feely among clan, so the king's feelings do not in any way diminish his dedication to his queen. They are still heart-bonded. Because of their long lives, relationships among the Edelin are complicated at best. Let's just leave it at that. Elvish lesson of the day. The word of the day is nin, which means me. So, Elonin means help me. Barionin means protect me. Lethionin means release me. And for my ESO friends out there, Nistonin, which means heal me. So there you go. Have a good day. And now, what you've been waiting for, the legals! Yay! The concept, cover art, characters, the world of Angeli are all crafted by the talent and imagination of the artist-author and their sole intellectual property. Thendiel's clan and the characters of the world of Angeli, the community of Eldelórne, and all those things included in but not limited to podcast audio, book audio, software robotics, and characters of the Tales of Eldelórne trilogy, Book 1, Book 2, and Book 3, Karleigh's Kitchen, Kale's Compendium on the Lives of the Edelin are all copyrighted material with all rights reserved from 2012 to the present date. The Elvish dialect referred to in this writing is based on Formal Sindarin, which is a fictional language invented by the late J.R.R. Tolkien. Nods or homage to the mythical, magical, living, or dead found in the stories are there purely for the reader's enjoyment. Any similarities to real fictional digital people, situations, or places in this work is purely coincidental. These works may not be reproduced in any fashion without written permission from the author. Email contact is Karleigh@karleighbond.com if you have any questions. No excuses. Tales of Eldelórne Book 1 can be found in libraries and quality bookstores under ISBN 978-1-704-34198-9 and purchased directly from the author on Amazon.com. First limited edition, copyright 2019 by Karleigh, all rights reserved, printed in the United States of America. KDP. Whew, that was a mouthful.